Hello and welcome to another Stamp with Amy K Facebook Live video. Today I'm planning to show you how I created the background for this card. Well, actually I probably will go ahead and put together the entire card, but I'm checking to make sure that I am live here in the right place at the right time, which it looks like I am. Just checking the video, and hopefully I have a few people jump in and join me, and if not, that's just fine. You all can watch the video later. So, like I said, I played a little bit with the new Brusho from Stampin' Up, which will be available in the Occasions catalog beginning on January 3rd. So this is some really cool watercolor, basically. It's like watercolor flakes, but very cool. Really easy to use, really easy to create. So on this card, I used the Picture Perfect Birthday stamp set for the sentiment, which is this one. And again, it's a new stamp set. It's photopolymer, and it'll be available beginning on January 3rd in the Occasions catalog. And for the little flowers that I have stamped here on the background and the little die cut pieces, I used the Petal Palette stamp set. The little tiny flowers right down here. So this is a really awesome stamp set bundle, and the stamp set is bundled with framelits dies, and I used the border die as well as the little flower die down here to create the die cut pieces for this card. So we will go ahead and get rolling. Now obviously I used the Prussian blue, I think is the name of it, Brusho, for the background of this one, and I thought for the video I'd change it up a little bit and we would try the yellow instead. So first things first, what you're going to need for this particular technique with the background that I created is a paper towel or something that's going to soak up some of the water, because you're going to spritz and things do fly. Well, at least when I spritz, things fly a little bit. So the brushes come in a box like this. And good morning, Margaret. Glad you're able to hop in and join me. So got the brushes come in a 5-pack. And we've got Prussian blue, moss green, brilliant red. I don't know how you say that word, but it's an orange color. And then a yellow. So those are the colors. As far as using them, you actually are supposed to poke little holes straight through the top of the container with a pin. And in order to seal mine up, again, once I punch the little holes, I actually am just leaving the push pin stuck in the hole that I poked in the top of it. And that's been working really well for me as far as being able to close them back up again once I've poked the hole in them and made them open. So we're using shimmery white cardstock for this, which I don't think the shimmer probably shows up very well on the video, but we're doing using shimmery cardstock for this, shimmery white cardstock, and it's cut to 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. And all the measurements and everything are out on my blog post today, so you can go take a look at it there. Good morning, Lori. Glad you were able to hop in too. All right, so I'm going to take this, it's the yellow Brusho, and just going to tap a little bit on the bottom. You don't need a whole ton of it. I know the instructions say to poke 2 holes in the top, 2 or 3, and because I'm sort of new to Brusho, I was a little hesitant to poke more than 1 hole, and 1 hole has worked well for me because I have a little bit more control over how much comes out, because you only need a little bit. So then I've got a Stampin' spritzer here, and I just have it filled up with water, and we're going to spritz it a little bit. So you can see it's starting to run a little bit, which is just fine. And you're going to start to see a little bit of the colors come through. If you don't feel like you got quite enough color on it, you can go back and always add a little bit more in. That's the one bonus. You can't take it away very easily, but you can always add more color in. And as it starts to kind of pool along the side, if you don't like the look of that, you can take your paper towel and sort of dab it up a little bit. But that's basically the background. I did a couple times as it was drying go back and sort of press it down so that it was flatter like this again, and that helped it for the final project when I was putting things together so that the paper wasn't quite so curled up. Another thing with Brushos is you don't want to rush them. And hey Sue, thanks for hopping in. You don't want to rush them and use your heat tool or anything to dry them. You want to let them sit naturally and just let them air dry. It does take a couple minutes, especially if you've sort of saturated the paper like I have. So with the magic of photography, I'm going to pull out one that I actually did yesterday, so it's all dried up and ready to move forward with making the rest of the card. But the backgrounds are really simple, really easy to do with Brushos, and like I said yesterday, I used the blue instead, and turns a really pretty deep dark blue. I really like that color. So, all right, so we're going to get the pieces here ready for the card. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp. I used the images from the petal palette. I used one of the flower images on the background, and I didn't really do a precise stamping job with it. I just sort of eyeballed it and figured out where I wanted to be. I'm using Calypso Coral for this one, for this flower image, and again it's a small flower image from the petal palette stamp set, so just inking it up. And then I just sort of placed the paper on here where I thought I was going to do it, and then stamped it. And again, the same thing, I just sort of slid it back up. I just wanted it peeking out a little bit from behind where I've got the sentiment panel, and just sort of eyeballed it again and stamped the other flower image over here. All right, so we got the background stamped. Then I stamped the sentiment from the Picture Perfect birthday stamp set. Oop, almost had it upside down. And again, hey Debbie, all the way from cold Ohio. It's cold in Atlanta this morning too, so I'm telling you, got up and it was like 32 or something, and there's a little bit of snow on the roofs in our neighborhood, so it's cold down here too. So got my image all inked up here with Calypso Coral. Gonna stamp it. I stamped it intentionally a little bit off-centered because I'm going to be adding these little flowers, and I wanted the flower to be able to fit along the side of it. So I got my sentiment all done here, and then I've already pre-die cut a few of the pieces because I didn't figure y'all wanted to sit and watch me do that. So I've got a little sponge dauber here, dabbing a little bit of Calypso Coral ink over the flowers. Trying not to get too much of it all over my fingers, which I usually end up doing anyway. And then somehow it ends up getting transferred onto my card. Maybe I'm the only sloppy one like that, but I make a mess oftentimes. All right, so added a little Calypso Coral. And then I'm going to come back with a little bit of Old Olive and a sponge dauber as well. And just add a little bit of ink to the leaves. And again, these die cuts, sorry, I should have said that earlier, die cuts and as well as the sentiment piece are all cut from shimmery white cardstock. So I think we're good on the sponge daubers. Now we're going to start sticking things together. So use a little bit of, you can use snail, fast fuse, whatever you want to do to put your sentiment piece together. My driving with snail is not always very straight. This is cut to 2 inches by 3 inches, and the Calypso Coral panel underneath it is 2 1/8 inches by 3 1/16 inch. So again, this is all out of my blog post this morning, so no need to worry about writing down the sizes or anything. Hopefully I'll get this fairly straight on the first shot. Whoop. About the time I say that. Thought I had it. All right. Got that stuck together, and I went ahead and stuck it even with the edge just because the final card I've got lined up here with the edge, so you don't need the additional edge on here. All right, then I took a little bit of linen thread. The other one I used silver baker's twine, the one that I made and posted on my blog this morning. But this is about 18 inches of linen thread. And again, I'm going to try to tie a bow on camera. These always go much better when I'm not on camera, but I'm going to give it a whirl. I found with the twines that if I tie a little bit of a knot first, that sort of holds everything in place, and then I can work on the loops of the bow so that I don't have to worry about things coming undone underneath. Gives me a little bit more freedom to play with the bow and get things set the way I want them to look. All right, so I think that looks about like I want it to. Move it down just a little bit so that the entire sentiment is showing. All right, then I'm going to take a little bit of the multi-purpose liquid glue, and I'm going to stick my flowers on here. And it just takes a couple dabs, and I probably put too much on, and it's probably gonna goop out because liquid glue sometimes does that with me, but that's okay. And I'm just going to take this flower and tuck it right around. See if I can pull my bow piece out from underneath here. Tuck it right around the bow. And then I'm going to take the other flower, a little bit of liquid glue on there as well. And I'm going to adhere it up here on the top part, holding it down for just a second. All right, then I'm going to go ahead with a couple Stampin' Dimensionals and put them underneath. And I'm also, as I'm adhering this, I'm putting the Stampin' Dimensionals up here because I'm going to be tucking a little die cut banner underneath it. So I just wanted to make sure that I have space to tuck that up underneath without having to worry about it. And I don't know about you guys, but I cut my dimensionals in half because, well, they last twice as long, and they really don't need to have all those full-size pieces, especially to hold these little sentiments and things on. Just pulling the backing off of it. And I'm going to try to line it up here fairly close to the edge and make sure that my flowers are peeking out where I want them to be. All right, almost had that together. Then little dots of liquid glue on my die cut. This is die cut from gold foil sheets, again with the petal palette bundle, the dies that come in it. And it's a really pretty die set. Has some nice dies that coordinate with the stamped images, as well as a couple that are in addition to the stamped images, which both of these are today. I'm going to get my twine up and out of the way, tuck this up underneath my sentiment, line it up along the edge. And this one's fairly easy to see if it's straight because you've got the little row of bubbles or whatever they're called. All right, got all that adhered together. Then I did find Fast Fuse to be the best as far as adhering this panel of shimmery white paper, just because it curls a little bit. So wanted to make sure I had a really good strong adhesive on the back. And if you haven't used Fast Fuse before, there's a little technique where you have to do this check mark technique at the end of it to sort of cut off the Fast Fuse as you're rolling it along. But once you get that technique down, I think you're going to love this adhesive. At least I do anyway. The only thing with Fast Fuse is once it's stuck down, it's stuck down. So I want to try to make sure that I am as straight as possible on here. I think I got it. Hopefully, fairly straight. All right, so that's most of our card front. I do need to trim off the tails here a little bit on my twine, a little longer than I like it to be. And then I'm going to go ahead and stick this on a Calypso Coral card base. I've got it cut to 4 1/4 by 11 and scored at 5 1/2. You can cut it so that the card folds this way too. I just prefer to do it this way. I don't know, I like the way it looks better. So that's completely up to you, though it will fit on a regular card base folded the other way too. A couple Stampin' Dimensionals on the back to adhere my card front to the card base. I don't know why I'm picking them off screen. I guess I can pick them on screen, but trying to keep the little things from sticking themselves back to the card, which they end up stuck all over my socks and on the dog and everything. So, all right, and again, trying to get this as straight as I can. Okay, that is our card front. On the original card, I had used some of the new little glitter epoxy dots. I don't know how well you can see those on the screen, but they're really pretty. For this card, I changed it up a little bit, and I'm using some of the gold faceted gems just because I had the gold pieces peeking out from underneath it. And these were pretty decent size. They're a little bigger probably than I'd like them to be for the flower centers, but I thought they worked pretty well, so I went ahead and decided I'd use these instead. Hopefully I can get them off the, there we go, off the backing and not stick it to my finger or my shirt. All right, so our card front is pretty much done. And on the inside, I stamped a little sentiment. I pre-did this. This is just Whisper White cardstock. And I pre-stamped this in Calypso Coral. It's the sentiment from the Picture Perfect Birthday, and then that same flower image that's on the front that I stamped in Calypso Coral as well from the Petal Palette stamp set. So just going to take a little bit of snail or fast fuse or liquid glue, whatever it is that you prefer to use, and stick my card, the inside of my card, to the card base like that. And that's all there is to it. So just going to take a little bone folder, run it across here, make sure I have a good solid crease, and that's the card. So this is the one that I have posted on my blog with the blues, and then here's the one that we made today with the yellow instead of the blue. Hey Robbie, thanks for joining. Hey Sherry, sorry, I've been paying attention to my card and not watching the comments, so thanks ladies for hopping in and checking out what I'm doing today. So here are the two cards. This one I used a little silver obviously on and did some silver embossing. This one I just stamped it in Calypso Coral. And one other thing I wanted to show you real quickly is it's not quite dry yet, but it's getting there. So this is the panel that I did while you guys were here on camera with me, so you can see the colors are coming out in it, and it's starting to spread out a little bit. So definitely very pretty. I like the look of it, and probably going to make another card just like that, finish up the pieces. And that is about all for today. So all the products that you saw here, all the new items that are up and coming things are going to be available on my website beginning on January 3rd. They're available now to demonstrators, so if you want to join, we'd love to have you on the team, and be happy to get you guys going on some new items with some new items. So also don't forget Stamparatus reservations are ending on Saturday, December 30th, so make sure that you guys get your reservations in if you haven't done so already. If you don't get the reservation in now, then you have to wait until the catalog goes live in June to get your Stamparatus. So all right, so any questions about anything? I'll hang on for a second, but otherwise, oh yep, love the blue. Yep, I agree. I actually like the way the blue one turned out better, but just wanted to change it up a little bit. I like the blue color a lot. I found that I'm using that all the time, so I'm trying to use some of the other colors too. So, all right. Well, thank you ladies for stopping in and joining me today, and hopefully you enjoyed seeing the Brushos in action and seeing some of the new products. Again, let me know if you have any questions, and I will link up the blog post for today in this video so that you'll be able to see all the dimensions. And again, don't need to worry about writing all that stuff down while I'm talking. But thanks so much for joining me. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon.